Okay. Another day, another calibration. It never ends. There's always things to learn and micro adjustments and optimizations that can have small effects, but so Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. What are the benefits of actually using, say, a disc from a player versus, say, a PC? Well, just because something is bitstream doesn't necessarily mean the signal is absolutely the same as something else. So, for example, I have two 4K players, and when I measure pink noise through both of them, they're not the same. It's both in Dolby Atmos, and it's both bitstream, obviously. But the rears on my Revon player are lower than my Panasonic player. So there are very small differences in signal levels. I don't know if there's differences, say, in frequencies. I mean, there could be, but one of the benefits, again, of calibrating to a player, specifically to the player, is you kind of rule all of the issues or potential issues out. Typically, right, I'm sweeping using VLC player from a PC using a HDMI cable. Is Windows passing everything over to my receiver perfectly? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think compression and things like that would be an issue, but if a 4K player to a 4K player has like these types of very minor issues, say in volume levels, does a PC as well, right? So that is really the benefit of calibrating to a player, is the levels will be absolute. They will be, if you're level matching perfectly, they will be absolute. Even if there's any errors in like the sweeps and the frequencies itself, it will then get taken care of in the calibration as well. So I thought, why not calibrate to my actual player? I have all the tools that I need with this disc, so let's do it. I've typically been using OCA's sweeps. OCA is a YouTuber, and I've downloaded his sweeps in the past. He did have errors with his first set of sweeps, but he's put out brand new sweeps now that don't have errors, and it was causing me a lot of headache, to be honest. But the new ones have all that fixed. I tested the issues that I was having was essentially speaker bleed. So essentially the speakers were not isolated in Dolby Atmos. I don't know if it was all of the channels, but anytime that I tried to move distances, it also affected the response. So took a while to figure out, but figured out it was actually the sweeps. So I did some demos with the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit, and zero errors when you change distances, which is really timing, from one speaker to the next and things like that, and then continuing to sweep. Does it have an effect on the actual response? It doesn't. So this disc has done an excellent job. Joe and Tel and Technodad, they have done an excellent job in making sure each speaker is truly isolated and is not affected by speakers around it. So that's a really big deal with Dolby Atmos. I think there has been a lot to learn with Dolby Atmos, considering it is it's not a speaker-based system. It's not a channel-based system. And you can essentially place things any way you want. Also, understanding where Dolby thinks that there should be a speaker, right, as well. How many other speakers are being activated by putting a sound here versus putting it, say, in the right speaker. What else is affected around it? So I was having a lot of issues. essentially over the past 6 months with that. A workaround that I found, just quickly talking about that though, was to time everything first, get all the volumes done first, get everything done first, then calibrate. And then you don't touch the speaker distances again. And once I did that, it really did calibrate beautifully, right? It's just like I'm using that calibration now, and it just calibrates so well doing that. Now we have this disc, and each speaker is truly isolated. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So yeah, this is the disc. Just showing some pictures here. If you haven't seen it, there's lots of different things that you could do with this disc. There's so much to do. For calibration, though, it's typically the impulse response and periodic noise. So there's a bunch of guides, which we'll actually take a look at today. And this is like how the menu system looks. So you just pick anything you want to test and measure, and we'll be doing impulse response today. And I think the impulse response is for 16 channels. So now, if you had more channels, if you had more channels, you're spending a lot on a processor. Trin-off, like above Trin-off levels. I mean, I'm not sure who else does above 16 channels, but I think my receiver, the Denon A1H, has 15 or 16 channels of processing. Actually, it may even have amplification, but I only use 11. So, and yeah, you pick the channels that you need. It plays, and we can sweep. So it does have acoustic reference as well, which you do need to measure with REW as well. So it's got all of that. So they give you a guide how to use it and things, and impulse. So if you search impulse, they give you all the calibration things that you need, and they give you a folder here to download, and this is what's on it. So basically what we need to do is download something for REW, which is the impulse response here. So download this. And that's done. Okay. Nothing to see there. So we grab this, put it in here. Alright, so this is our YouTube calibration. Come to measure, and then we'll be measuring from file. Basically what this does is it tells REW what to look for in the sweep. So YouTube calibration, impulse response, good, and we add that, and now we're essentially ready to go to start. So again, that file essentially tells REW how long it is. It already says here it's 5 seconds. They're 5-second sweeps at 256K. I have been using longer sweeps with OCA's first sweeps from file, and they're 1M, and I really did enjoy using them, but obviously they did have issues. So also the acoustic reference was out of the center channel and not the left channel, whereas these and OCA's new sweeps are from the left channel. The acoustic reference is the left channel. I personally do prefer the center because I think any micro timing adjustments needed being in the center of the room, I do think is better. But in the end, this is micro timing things that really even Audyssey doesn't have access to that granularity of timing. So in reality, it doesn't matter. Now, one of the benefits of timing from the left, or having an acoustic reference in the left or the right channel, is that some people may not use a center channel for surround sound, and another is for just, let's say you was only using a couple of speakers, even for stereo, right? If you were just using 2 speakers, you can still use this system. Whereas if you were using a center channel, if you weren't using a center channel and the timing reference came from the center, it would then essentially matrix, I guess you could say, into both channels, which you can't do that. So you need one channel. So I guess this is a workaround really for everybody, and it really is just to say this is when the start point is, right? I've been putting a lot of emphasis on say, hey, I like everything from the center channel. In reality, I don't think it matters. There are a couple of workarounds as well that I'm going to try today to get the timing, to change the timing of the system without changing the timing of the center channel. So, all right, that's enough of the kind of intro to why and how. Let's see how loud this disc is. So I'm playing right now. I'm using level matching on their disc, and it's the third one down, and I'm using 7.1.4. So I just want to see like how loud it is. I like to calibrate at 75 dB. You can calibrate louder. You can calibrate at 70 dB as well. I've found that the louder you calibrate, potentially the drier the sound is. Okay, that's that set. So 75 dB. My speakers, so what I've done in MultEQ-X is sent an empty project essentially to this, where the only thing that I've done is level matched and got my distances done. And then what I did was I just saved that file. This was my latest calibration, and all there is with this one is it just doesn't have any calibration done to any of the speakers, but timing and channel trims are done. So, but again, that was done on a PC. This was done on a laptop. So is this player vastly different? We'll see. I think I did take a measurement the other day using the disc, and I think the timing is different. So, yeah. All right, so the volume's correct. Let's get to impulse response. And I'm only going to do a few speakers because I have calibrated before in the past. The methodology is basically the same. There are a few little changes I've made, and I want to talk about them probably as I go. I'll probably do say like an Atmos speaker and maybe the front left speaker. I'm using the SVS Pinnacle. I don't know their full name. It's the Prime Pinnacles. Yeah, it's SVS's highest range speaker right now. Extremely good speakers, and after calibration. But after using them now for quite a few months, I've really began to appreciate their sound. Having a fuller sound than my old ELAC speakers is really beneficial. Center speaker again is SVS's top of the line. Really just, it's just so much more detail than my old speaker without any boxiness, boominess, you know. Now, these speakers are extremely bassy and they need taming seriously. So I think we are ready to go. So real quick, another thing, I may as well talk about this. So we have the impulse response here for REW. But let's say you didn't have a link to their, you know, their guide or anything like that. You didn't have a link to, you couldn't download it. For whatever reason, you couldn't download it. For some reason, the internet was out for the day as well. That actually could have been an issue as well. You can make your own. So this file that goes in here, you can make your own. So if you go to Generator, click on Sweeps here, and it's 5 seconds, 256K, which is how it's supposed to be. Start frequency is 1 hertz to now. I think Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit uses 20K as the actual limit, but if you want, you can set this to 24. What this will do is, if you set that to 20, on the actual sweep, the sweep will stop literally recording at 20K. It won't go to 24K. So it depending, I mean, it's a minor thing because EQing after 20K is, I mean, I actually don't EQ anymore like that high unless it's very small. Like if the differences were half a dB, maybe 1 dB, okay. But chances are, like, I mean, on some of my speakers, the differences could be like 6 dB, and that's not worth chasing, right? Anyway. So I typically cut my EQ off at around 18K. I think to my ears, that gives me enough treble to where I hear it, and anything more is just, I'm not even sure if I can hear it, and it's just borderline overkill anyway. So what I'm doing here is really overkill. I'm just saying, I'm just showing you though that you can make these, right, for yourself. So if you come here to save file, you can choose the format. So you can match the exact thing that's on the disk, which is 24-bit 48, and what the start frequency is 1 hertz to 24K. I believe REW recommends you set this to 1. Like for log, it says there for log sweeps, set this actually to 1 instead of 0. I'm honestly not too sure all about this. However, this is all you need. So to set it up like this, 256K, so it matches the sweeps that we're already doing. I don't think the volume actually matters, but it's just set at -12 dBFS. So, and it's 24-bit 48, which is again the same thing we're doing here. The channels are mono because you're only sweeping 1 at a time, and you can just save this now as the impulse response here. So save that, measure. So you click the from file. This is the file it's using here underneath, impulse response for REW, which is their file that we downloaded. But YouTube calibration, so let's click this one now. And now we have this one. And this one just allows you to go up to 24K. You know, there's really, it's not worth it, to be honest, but some people still may want to see their full speaker measurement all the way to 24K, right? So that is one thing you can do. Let's actually just get going. Now, there's something I wanted to do is because the timing is now from the left speaker, I wanted to see the difference in time to the second speaker, so the center speaker. So I'm going to sweep the center, and I want to know how far off the speaker is. I know I'm bouncing around here, but they said as well the best thing to do for setup here is, oh, there it is to turn this off, adjust clock with acoustic reference. What this means is this may also be for their sweep test as well. It could be for that. And what this does is it only looks for acoustic reference, for the first acoustic reference. Then it doesn't look for the second one, because typically you can, with acoustic reference, you have one at the start and then one when it ends. And then it kind of works out the timing of it all that way. But with this way, you don't need to do that. You can just, this is when it starts, and then it measures after that. I don't know what is the best thing to do there, because this does have, from what I hear, it has acoustic reference before and after anyway, so but we can do this, and let's just get going. I want to see how far my center speaker is away from the other channel, so let's play the center, press start, and we wait. So, why did I do that if I'm not going to calibrate that speaker today? So if you see here, the measurement of my center channel is basically 3 inches away. And these speakers are timed perfectly on my PC. But on this disc, the timing is different, I've noticed. Maybe it is because the chirp is now coming from the left speaker, and the timing is just ever so slightly different. But essentially it's about 3 inches. The difference was 3 inches. So what is the best thing to do here? So what we can do is, the reason I'm showing you this is because my center speaker is, the distances are set perfectly, and my lip sync is perfect right now, right? So because I've calibrated before with acoustic reference in the center channel, I don't want to mess with that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be moving the left channel to see if we can actually get it closer to my center channel, so I don't have to move it. So let's see. So distances. Now I'm not quite sure what direction we need to go. So let me just add 80. I'm going to set that to 80. So I've added 30.3. And I want to see where the center channel is now. So let's redo the center. And ooh, so it's the other way. So 30 added that. So that means that you could take away 3. So that would be 2. Oh, I can't go that way. Where's my center? So 2, 4. Ooh, this is interesting. If you saw there, it didn't accept going to 2. The reason is because Denon receivers have a max range of 6 meters. And if you see, my center channel is at 2.24. but my sub is at 8.24, exactly 6 meters away. The reason I've had to do this is because going through a mini DSP adds around 13 milliseconds. So, yeah, I'm kind of right on the edge of distance. This is kind of, again, why I didn't want to move my center channel. I only wanted to move the reference speaker in relation to the center channel. So, doing this, let's see. Let's see where we're actually at now. Really? So I'm making way too large of adjustments here. So we was at 50. It's not going to need much then, is it? I don't think. Yeah, 2 inches wouldn't, would it? Let's try doing this 3 off. Sorry, this isn't going to be quicker, but I just want to show you in the end here what I want to achieve. Okay. So what was the second one? Oh, so I was going the right way. I just went too far. So try 3. Sometimes you don't know how long it takes me to get things calibrated and done correctly. A lot of this is trial and error, a lot of times, just to see how things work. Okay. So what I'm doing here is looking how far away from the speakers I am. So we started off at essentially 3 inches away. Now we're at 1.5, so we're getting closer, right? So I would say this one go to 56. We'll be very close. And again, I'm doing this because I do not want to move my center channel. So I'm using the left almost as a guide to set up that reference distance. Then once it's set in, everything in relationship can be moved around it. All right, beautiful. That's close. This is 0.14 inches away, like insanely close. So what this means is my left speaker and my center channel are essentially, like timing wise, they're on top of each other, right? This is less than an inch. And this is like 0.14 inches. It is so close in time of when that speaker plays. And again, the reason I wanted to do that is because, well, number one, I don't think I can actually change the distance of my center channel. It's it could maybe go up, but it definitely can't go down because, again, of this 6 meter rule. But I've got my reference speaker now in time with my center, and now every other speaker will be matched to that left speaker, and it will be in time with my center channel with everything else that goes along with it. So that is done. Let's just have a look at the center channel real quick. As you can see, we are measuring to 24K. So again, you can make these by yourself. You know, you can just come to the generator, set it up to be exactly as the sweep is, and that's it. Good. So we only added to actually add 6. Not much. But there is a difference there. Again, is this the player? Is this the difference between using a laptop with a long HDMI cable? You know, I'm not sure, but those differences are there now. Is it because we're sweeping from the left channel, or from the having an acoustic reference in the left channel? You know, I don't know. But the goal, again, whichever system you are using, is to get those speakers time matched or impulse matched as close as possible. So that's what we did. All right, so the left speaker we don't need to touch anymore, but we are going to actually calibrate. So let's start calibrating that. Okay, let's go. Bass on these speakers is ridiculous. Left. SVS. SVS, you made insanely bassy speakers. You know, look at this. Look at how much that is rising. Like, what is it? Like, that's 15... I mean, compared to the actual average level, that is crazy. It's over 15 dB. That is obscene. Obscene amounts of bass. I demoed these speakers. I'd already bought the speakers, but I demoed them in one of the rooms at Audio Advice Live. However they had their setup, they had the bass sounding as though it was coming from a subwoofer, right? It really did. Like, I thought that was subwoofer bass. It was so strong. Even some of the guys that I was sitting with, they said, "Oh, that bass is coming from next door, right? Have they got a movie on?" And the guy was like, "No, these are the speakers are doing this. Like, that's from the speakers." It's like, holy. So yeah, and we've got to tame this, because however much bass we have in a speaker, do you see how it's like only really going to say 60 hertz? I mean, sure, you can get great performance to around 60 hertz, and there is excellent impact with music. But I still prefer using a subwoofer. I feel as though I have a lot more control. Bass just simply sounds better out of bigger subs. You know, it's however many woofers they have on the speaker, and however much bass you do have, I have more consistency over the range of, say, 100 hertz to 20. You know, it's, yeah, cool, I have this much bass in the room, but, you know, I just don't know. It's just, I mean, to be honest, I almost want speakers that can play to 80 hertz, then themselves roll off. Like, for me, I'm a subwoofer guy. Like, I like to use a subwoofer. I feel as though I can get it timed and integrated well with all of my speakers and my system. So having this much power in a speaker is it's really overkill. But you know, if you're a 2-channel guy and you do not want to use subs, then the bass on these speakers is outrageous. Okay. What do I need to do? All right, so Harman target curve. We're pulling in the Harman target curve again. And let's go down to here. Align everything to 0 dB. Good at 1K. Good. So we've normalized the volume, and now you can see relative to the 0 dB line here, what is going on with the speaker. Like, what is the speaker doing versus, say, a Harman target curve? Obviously, these SVS speakers, there is a massive treble rise after 2K. And you could say, why did they design a speaker like that? But when it's calibrated, it gives such good treble. So I kind of don't care, right? Why it does this? It's like, well, I want a speaker that's a bit more neutral. But are you going to EQ it anyway? Yes. Well, then it doesn't really matter. That's my kind of feelings on this. It's the same with the bass. Cool, it's great to have bass that high. Does it really matter? No. Because I'm going to bring it down to this level. So it's kind of like my thoughts on this. Now this here, this dip, I'm not sure if this is going to be worth correcting. I generally do not like to correct for dips like this. The difference could be 3, 5, that's like 8 dB. I don't think I like to correct for that, but we'll see. It can depend. For a center channel, there's no way. There's no way I would do this to a center channel. And the reason is because of dialogue. It's not just male dialogue, it's female dialogue that can pick up a bassy tone to it around here. And, you know, this is really the benefits of manual EQ. You can choose to have your system sound however you like. That's really the benefits. You're not, like, say Direct Live, for instance. Let's imagine you can import a Harman target curve. Can I tell it to not EQ this part automatically? I know, so it's run its automatic calibration, but can I then go in and say, yeah, don't EQ this part, but keep this part? I don't know. So again, that's kind of the benefits of using MultEQ-X. I can pick and choose parts that I want to keep and parts that I don't want to keep. All right, so so A over B magnitude division, same calibration method as before. That is not right, is it? No, they're the wrong way around. Target curve is always on top. Generate, there you go. So this one can go. Remove. And this is, for anyone that hasn't seen this before, it essentially inverts what the response is versus the target curve. So anything that, like this missing bass, we're trying to get back the bass, right? So it should give a very smooth response, smoothish, within a dB to half a dB, right? Following this target curve once the calibration is done. Now, if you see here, I mean, it depends how you look at it. The speaker, the treble, the tweeter is rolling off, right? It does actually roll off or start to change its volume level at around 12K. But even though that is happening, these speakers pretty much can, from what I'm seeing, can go up to around 24K with some minor, probably boosting there around 20K, if you wanted to. If you just absolutely wanted everything all the way to 24K. So export. Whoa. So this is always a thing with REW, especially with, I don't know if the live version has this type of look, but you always have to make sure that make this this current selection, make this the current selection is checked. Now we have this one selected. Now we can actually export it as text. It's easily done. Now, a couple of things that I've been doing on my last calibration is you might ask, why are you using the lowest resolution possible to export with? There's a couple of reasons why it is actually useful to do it. The more you change a EQ, the more resolution you have, the more chance you have for sharp I'm just going to call them sharp turns. Like this one here, this might actually be the sharpest. But do you want it that sharp? Because when you make these types of turn adjustments in EQ, it can affect the timing of sound. So what I did was I ran a few EQs. Let's get back to this. I ran a few EQs with 3, 6, 12 types of resolution. You can go even higher to see what it does to timing. And the least effect on timing was using the lowest resolution. Does this give bad sound? It actually doesn't. In my opinion, this sound is actually better. It sounds more natural to do this. However, if you want, this is with Audyssey. Audyssey allows anything up to 1/12th octave of resolution. So you can use this. But a couple of things to bear in mind is this has been smoothed with psychoacoustic smoothing. Psychoacoustic smoothing in the bass region is around 1/3. In the mid-range, it's around 1/6. And in the treble area, it's around 1/3 again. So even if you did export, say, beyond 1/12th, there's a point of complete diminishing returns due to the actual smoothing going on. Now, if you were using higher, like if you were actually smoothing at, say, 1/24, that type of resolution doesn't actually exist in Audyssey anyway. So the maximum you could go is 1/12th, which I think is just too aggressive and it sounds too clinical. You get a supernatural sound with this, and it has the least amount of effect on timing possible using 1/3 octave smoothing. So I did that on my last calibration, and it sounded absolutely incredible. So let's export with that. Downstairs calibration. I calibrated downstairs too. Got that sounding really good. I mean, I only watch, wrong one. I only watch TV, sports, news, and things like that on it, but it is just nice to have clarity. And that's really all I'm after from that type of setup downstairs, is just to have dialogue clarity. Can you hear, like if we put a movie on just very casually, like on a stream, does it sound good? That's all I was after. And it can be calibrated very, very quickly. I actually used this disc as well because it was just the most easiest. Put the disc into the Xbox downstairs, calibrated straight off of the Xbox, and calibrated excellently. I did the subs with it. And again, subs, you don't have as much resolution as the same mini DSP, so left. So yeah, I had to be a little careful with the sub about how much to correct for. So Okay. Refresh that. So left. We're going to want probably this. So basically what I do is once the speaker hits the point where it cannot produce more bass, which is here at 40 Hertz, to follow a Harman target curve now would require boosting of 2 dB, 5 dB, and then we get into 20 Hertz and we're 13 dB away, right? So I guess if you were looking at like say a plus or minus 3 dB thing, I don't know how, I don't know how they would probably do that, but maybe you could say that these speakers measured down to 30, down to 31 Hertz. You could probably say that, because the central point is around 1K, which should be around 0. Where's 1K? 1K. Oh, so 1K is actually, it's not flat. That's because it's the, I know why. It's because it's the calculated version. But these were balanced to the 0 dB line, but they were over 2 octaves, right? So it's averaging everything. So if you actually did look at that from a 2 dB thing, let's just call this 2 dB. Where would the speakers roll off at then? That's 2 dB, so we're 4 dB. We're out already. Plus 2, 4. It's these speakers, I would imagine, are around. If SVS said to me they're flat down to 50 Hertz or even 40, I would probably believe them, right? I think I don't know what the specs are, but I would probably believe that. Anyway, this speaker is, I don't want to boost in bass areas on a speaker, and especially a speaker that I'm going to be crossing over. So 40. So I grab 40 on this other one. Ooh, no. Grab 40 and zero that out. MultEQ-X only goes to 10 Hertz, so the text files that I make only go to 10 as well. I went back a little bit back and forth with Audyssey about why does it matter, So I'm just, I would never calibrate to this anyway. Even in a subwoofer, I would not calibrate down to 10 Hertz. So this is completely fine. Let's see what's going on with treble. The speaker's producing too much treble, even at 20K, by a little bit, right? But look, 16K here. I hope you can see this. I really hope. My camera's not there. Even at 16K, right, we're still having to lower the treble to match our actual target. So yeah, but if you see again the resolution here, the resolution jumps from 20K to 16 to 12. So we can't make sharp turns with a 1/3 octave export. But again, it gives extremely good, balanced, smooth sound, in my opinion. And this is the least effect you could have on an EQ in regards to timing. So that is one of the reasons why I did it, because I didn't want to affect timing on a speaker in any way, even after calibration. I was just trying things like that, and I wanted to see what this sounded like, and I was like, this sounds really good. So, yep, that is why. Let's see what's happening with this disc. I don't want the player to turn off. I'm using a Panasonic UB9000, and I think, nope. And it does fall asleep after about 15 minutes, so front left speaker, YouTube left. Successful. So this is the correction curve, and if you notice, it's a smooth correction curve, right? It is smooth. Sometimes less is more, I feel. This is what, if you can see this, yeah, my camera shouldn't be blocking that. Relative to the 0 dB line in Audyssey, where is the boosting happening as well? Relative to 0 here, where are things happening? Yeah, I can't really say, I guess, why I prefer it, but I think I do. I do prefer less EQ at this point, I think, rather than more. I've done the 112s before, and I've done 96, and I think it's too clinical. All right, let's transfer, and we'll see what to do. What this looks like. So, yeah. Going to find some time next week or within the next couple of weeks to completely recalibrate my system with the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. Because, yeah, I was really just thinking about the benefits of calibrating directly from this player instead of a Windows PC, instead of VLC player. Number one as well, it's a lot easier to set up. I get my laptop here, I run my UB9000. That's it, right? You know, it's extremely, I don't have to go around the back, like unplug in HDMI cables, put in HDMI cables in from my 25-foot HDMI cable. You know, you don't have to mess with any of that. That is really the benefits of doing this, and obviously, you know, audio levels and things like that. So let's take that off and undo alignment for volume. So we have this. Shall I volume match? What's the average volume? 83. One sec. 81.4. 81.2. All right, let's see. Undo. 81.5. 81.5. All right, so that's the volume matched of the sweep versus the target, so they match. Let's sweep the front left. Let's sweep the front left and see how good the calibration is. Okay, let's pull that out, and that's basically it. So as you can see, because of the resolution difference between, say, using, say, a 1/12 and a 1/3, it isn't perfect, right? There are differences here between the target and the actual response here. but sometimes it's just about actually hearing it. Sometimes I've been chasing absolute perfection versus these target curves, and it hasn't necessarily sounded better than what I'm hearing here after this calibration. So I'm not saying you have to do this, right? You can choose to export at 1/12. To be honest, you could export at whatever you like, as long as it doesn't affect Audyssey in a negative way. One of the reasons, again, why I was using something as well that didn't affect timing either in a negative way is because I was experiencing issues with, say, OCA's old sweeps, and I didn't want to over EQ and have the speaker move, say, an inch forward or back, and it negatively change the response and things like that because it's relying on other speakers around it. That was one of the reasons I did it. So in reality, I could use a much higher resolution export now. It should take care of things like this. How much resolution we actually truly need, I'm not sure, to take care of that. What I could do is re-export and see if we can make it so 1/3. I'm going to see if we can see if it does apply nicely. Let's have a look. Put all this back on. Let's go back to 0. Okay, so let's get rid of this because I don't want to get confused. I'm just going to remove that. So same deal. Actually, I could have just used the old one, couldn't I? Because the resolution of that never changes. Make it the current selection. Let's export. Why don't we try exporting at the highest one, 96, right? This is the maximum level of detail that you could possibly have. Let's try it. Left 96, let's just call it that. How much difference does it make? Is it better? Is it a better sound? Look how much detail we have there. It's crazy. So it's again, it's around the same point. It's around 40 hertz, right? So in all fairness, we can just grab this, all of this, and put it in our other text. Now, the difference in resolution versus the text versus, say, this, it doesn't matter. From what I understand is, as long as there is 3 hertz apart here in resolution, Audyssey is okay with it. That's why these are specifically 3 hertz apart, because that is the maximum detail you can actually get with Audyssey. You cannot get closer in detail. So, so if you know that, then it will take, say, 45 into Audyssey, and the next one will, say, be 48. So even though we have obscene resolution here, Audyssey itself will only take certain numbers. Like, it will probably take, say, this one, 48, 3 above that, that's 51, right? So it's there's only so many points that it will be able to get, even with this much detail. But one thing you could say is, great, as long as Audyssey can take those, it's always taking the highest amount of detail that it possibly can. The one benefit of ultra high resolution like this will be treble, because the treble will be significantly detailed now. Even though the difference is between, look at this, 12,200 to 12,300, whereas before we was having 16,000 to 20,000, right? That's 1,000 hertz of a difference, and there's no changes happening, right? But here, the differences are pretty apparent. So, where can we go? So we get to 20 hertz. It requires 2. With these speakers, knowing that their tweeters are so good, I'm going to leave this. It's only 2 dB. The tweeter in this is, in these speakers, these SVS speakers are incredible. I've took care of the bass. So let's see. Let's see how much resolution and detail really we can get here. Now, again, this is from using a psychoacoustically smoothed sweep. You can go to 112, but that's the maximum. Do you want to? I've tried it. I don't think it sounds better. Let's fix all this first. So we're going to remove the old one. And left. If you saw how smooth that was, the old one. Yeah, look at it now. This is no longer smooth. This has high amounts of detail. You can see down here too. Let's see. Let's see how much of that detail Audyssey can actually take. So, yeah. This is kind of like the fun part of EQ, is what does make a difference? You know, what makes a difference to the sound that you actually hear? All of my EQs as well are done from the main listening position. And the reason I do main listening position EQ is because main listening position EQ sounds better. I've done a couple of times where I've used multiple positions. I think Audyssey even recommend 8. Why? Because you think, or Audyssey or anybody thinks, that you can gain more seat-to-seat consistency by measuring the right seat, the left seat, and the middle seat, and hey, let's hang off of the rafters and put a microphone here and get more information. What those systems are doing is they take all of those measurements and they create an average response, right? And that response is just, in my opinion, it is just ruined then for everybody. It's ruined. Because if you're measuring the right channel and you're sitting in the left chair or the left seat, and let's just say you were 2 dB down on the treble versus the middle seat, EQ is not going to change that. EQ cannot change that. Because these systems, all they do is EQ that one channel, that one speaker, that's it. So having multiple measurements for just a single channel, to me, completely ruins the sound. It completely ruins the sound. You're measuring from a different position, which means the dispersion of sound from that speaker is now completely different. In this right channel, the right channel for the right seat, you could have a lot more treble because generally I'm angling my speakers at say 15 degrees. I think most people, from what I'm seeing, is either 15 to 10 degrees. So the right person for the right channel is generally going to probably have a brighter sound, right? So now I measure that seat, and then the left one doesn't have as much treble. You'd think they'd kind of balance each other out. They don't. I EQ'd my whole system. Unfortunately, it took a whole day doing it that way, of measuring all of these different spots. And I listened to a movie and I'm like, this sounds bad. Like this doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound better. And it's because it's just, all it's doing is taking, say, 10 measurements, 8 measurements, putting them all together, creating an average, and then you have to EQ that. It doesn't sound better. And it does not get rid of seat-to-seat consistency issues at all. It's the same with subwoofers. If my left seat has negative 2 dB less bass, do you think that measuring that seat, then measuring the right seat over here, then measuring my middle seat, do you think that just by doing that, you now have seat-to-seat consistency in bass? You don't. That seat on the left still has negative 2 dB bass. Even after calibration, it does, because that's the room. The room is doing that. You can't EQ yourself out of this, because that's just physics. That's just how a room works. You cannot. Each seat cannot be the same. Outside of Trinov's waveforming in the subwoofer, obviously, I'm talking here, they have this crazy tech where you can get very close and even seat-to-seat consistency for bass, but it requires an extremely elaborate setup. Like, to be honest, I think to get waveforming to work at its best is going to probably at least require 6 subs in the front and at least 4 in the back. At least to truly get that system to work, to give you. And obviously, the more subs you have, the more seat-to-seat consistency you're going to have. End of story. And that is the thing as well, is with subwoofers, just specifically. The more subs you have in a room, even outside of waveforming from Trinov, the more subs you have in a room, the more seat-to-seat consistency everybody is going to have. The better experience it's going to sound for absolutely everybody. But with a speaker, calibration cannot get you out of seat-to-seat consistency at all. Can't do it. I don't care how many measurements you do, you can't do that, because that seat will always be negative, say, I don't know what it is. It may be half a dB, right, on the treble. It will always be that. But again, you ruin your EQ for seat-to-seat consistency. I'm not doing it. I've heard it. It doesn't sound good. So I quickly got back onto single seat measurements. And there's just no reason to do it. I hope I've sent that. Yeah. If you do measurements in every single seat, and you've been doing that you've only ever done that, try a single seat measurement for every single channel, just one, and tell me how it sounds. Because to me, it sounds absolutely incredible doing it that way. Just measuring from one seat. Obviously, the middle seat will be the even seat to every single other channel as well. So, but yeah, no more multi-seat measurements. No way. I know what sounds good, and I know what sounds bad. So, to me, it doesn't sound good, so I don't do it. Okay. Let's undo alignment. Okay. So this is the absolute difference between a 1/3 and a 96K essentially export. What is it? Is it literally 196? So, yes, it does help, right? It absolutely does help. So the resolution now that we have to take care of this dip, these 2 dips here, smooth out this, take care of this. It really, it does make a big difference. But does it translate into better sound? That's really up for you to decide. The best thing about Audyssey is you could just to test, right? You could test your fronts. So you could do front left and front right. And on flat, you could do the 1/3, and on reference you could put the 96, right? And you can switch back between them. If you could definitely tell that you prefer that high precision detail in dialogue, in sound, treble, and music. It actually did sound better, then you would know. So again, this is up to you. This is how you want to, EQ your sound and get the best sound for your room. Now, how does it compare to a Harman Curve? So I assume the volume didn't change. What was it, 81.3? Actually, it doesn't matter the volume. We just want to see the differences relative to it. So that can go. We don't need to see that. Let's pull the 1/3 out. It just allows tracking to the target to be so much better. Does it necessarily sound better? I don't know. Without sounding overly clinical, because no question, if you are sensitive to changes in treble, if you see the 1/3 here, the 1/3 is actually from around this point on is mostly a lot of the times under the target, only ever so slightly, but it is under the target. Whereas this one, we're now over the target, and again now only just slightly, but we are. So definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. Now, having this type of resolution for my Atmos channels may actually be beneficial, and I'll explain why. I think I don't want to make this. I mean, this video is probably going to be long anyway, and I do make long videos, but front height left. So I'm going to calibrate the top left Atmos channel, and I think that is a channel that can strongly benefit from having more detail, and you'll see why by actually measuring it. I'll save it just in case, right? So YouTube left. So let's keep the Harman Curve, so we'll lock that. Okay, remove. Okay, so let's do the front left, front height left. And you see the issues. So, what are the issues? Obviously, you can see massive extended bass here, and the reason is because when I first moved into this house 4 years, actually it's going to be coming up to 4 years now, I didn't think about acoustics in the same way that I think about kind of setup and acoustics now. So my front Atmos speakers are essentially in the corners, right? They're way in the corners of the room, and as you can see, when you put speakers in the corner of the room like that, excuse me, 300 hertz and above, you're just getting injected with bass. And these are just ELAC Unify B6s, I think. But they're ELAC Unify speakers, the bookshelves. the first generation, the generation that had bass, or more bass. You know, I don't want to rip on the next generation too much, but they do have more bass. And even for a bookshelf, like similar actually to the fronts there, we're having significant bass output till around 60 hertz, which is again above our crossover. So look at this. Look at this, what's going on. So again, when you put speakers next to walls, and I'm not using room treatment. Now, I would like to put room treatment specifically, definitely specifically, around my front Atmos speakers, and to be honest, even my backs. And it's because it's almost like they're right next to a wall, and it's just freely bouncing things around, right? If you could use room treatment, I honestly, truly believe that this would smooth out. Some of this treble as well might be increased because of reflections. Now, in my room, the sound doesn't sound echoey, right? I haven't treated anything, but I have such big cushions. I have duvets. You know, I like to have my room really cold when I watch movies, so we all like to wrap up. You know, but it's not I don't hear reflections like when I clap my hands, right? I don't hear echoes, reflections, and things like that. So, can I see this? Okay, yeah. So this is like decay time, and the amount of echoes, like say in my room, even on say this channel, it's 270 milliseconds. I've heard, I mean, I think when you treat a room, people go for around, I thought they went for around 300 to 200 milliseconds of that sustained audio kind of like being left in the room. So I don't even have my cushions up here or anything like that. I think this is a good, this is like, this room sounds good for audio, and it's not actually treated. So, but I still think that there could be significant improvements by doing so. I just, you know, I haven't done that. So, yeah. But again, that 1/3 thing with this type of thing going on here, you need more resolution to like treat that. There's also other ways, but so front height left. But I just want to say as well is, no, I don't, unless you're you know really building from the ground up. A lot of us don't have absolutely perfect rooms. There's always something in the room you could say, I wish I'd have done this different. I wish I'd have done that different. But you have to do the best you can, right? And after an EQ and you've got your sounding to where you kind of like, it really is just now about enjoying this, right? I've been very, very focused, especially over the last two years, about really getting this to sound amazing, my room, to getting it sound as good as I can. And that is that's fun. But it's almost like once you finish that, you can just enjoy your movies now. You can just enjoy your music. But it is fun to learn along the way. And any new EQ methods that come up, it does get me excited, right? It is exciting to get. You're almost gaining something for free. It wasn't free because you had to know, you had to learn it, you had to discover it, but that is the fun part for me, is trying all of these different things. What sound do I like, you know? And yeah. So okay, so again, this is that's the correction curve versus the target. Make sure we have this selected. Export. We're going to export at full resolution. It does seem as though Audyssey can take it. Now, if you exported at 1/12, how much difference do you see between that and the 96? I don't think it would be, I don't know if there'd be much difference there. And again, because of Audyssey's own resolution. So, front height left. Now, if you see here, the tweeter is... The tweeter's dying... Well, not dying, but, you know, 18K. 18K, the speaker wants to let go, right? It doesn't want to be... It's not going to want to be boosted after 18K. You can see that. So we are going to have to correct for that. Where are we? So front height left. So around to 60, right? Still using negative numbers. Look at this, all the way to 50 hertz. Again, because we're in the corner there. But from a bookshelf, that's pretty crazy. Wait, what? That would be 50, which I don't want. So you can just cut this and put a 40 in there. Okay. That's fine to do, right? Basically, what this means is that after 50 hertz, we are no longer applying EQ at all. We're going to be cutting the speaker off anyway at 80 hertz. So, but the fact is that you are applying negative EQ in bass areas, which gives your receiver, processor, amplifiers more headroom, which is great. So there are some upsides to this, if you can get it to sound good, right? You know. All right. So when does the treble? When does that tweeter? What was it? 18K. So I would need now I made another spreadsheet for this, but to fix all of this I'd probably need a spreadsheet. Because the thing is, when you're dealing with resolutions this high, look at how many numbers I'm like actually having to deal with here. So there are a couple of things you can do. Okay. Where's 21? Alright, I'm just going to grab that and take it out. I will fix this in a minute. So here's how I would fix. So these are being boosted. So I'm just going to have to manually set these to 0. Oh, that one can be too. But yeah, to take care of these, you really now need a spreadsheet, because there's so many numbers. When it's only a couple of numbers, like on a 1/3, it's like you could just manually change a few numbers, right? But you're having to actually deal with all this. Now, what are my goals here? So 22, 23, 24. Now Audyssey locks at 24K exact, so Not a big deal. It's just that I've now allowed this to, I wouldn't say roll off, but set to 0 all the way to 24K just to make sure it happens. Because with Audyssey, and I think this is true of all graphic equalizers, target curve makers and things, is you cannot actually allow, I can't remove this. Cut. You can't just allow it to do this and then just like hover with nowhere to go. You actually have to tell Audyssey that the rest of this is 0. I've seen that it is a lot better way of managing it. It's the same with bass, about setting your bass to 0 rather than having Audyssey kind of just roll off. You need to tell it what to do. But what I've done here is I've basically took 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. What these numbers are and what they represent, that just doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that it allows the system to roll off to 24K. At least, let's see if it does that. And this is taken care of as well. Okay. So front height left, import, front height left, front height left. Okay. As you can see here, it's starting, well, yeah, it's set to 0, which is, this is the 0 dB line, so it flattens out. Lots of detail here as well, which again is needed for this type of, I find that I use an Auro 3D layout, which means the speakers are not in the ceilings, they're as high as they can go, but on the wall. So you have wall reflections, you've got ceiling reflections, there's a lot of things going on, and in my system they are definitely the hardest speaker to EQ because of that reason. All of the other speakers are, my front speakers, for instance, they're probably 2 to 3 feet off of the wall, and they're brought into the room. They calibrate gorgeously because of really that reason, because they're not against walls. There's no major reflections hurting their sound. So reconnect, and we'll send that. So let's just make sure my player doesn't fall asleep. Send that. I'm just waiting here for a sec. It has been known that if you click preset 1 instantly, you can get disconnects from the receiver. So I just wait like a few seconds, send it, and then I never get disconnects anymore. So I use wireless, could be that, but I've told Audyssey about it. Haven't seen an update for this for a while now for Audyssey, so it's probably not something they can actually fix. And the workaround is really just to wait a little while, like 2 seconds, and then send. Okay. Let's see what happens. Where were we? Around there? So front height left, undo. Let's get volume matched. 83. Not that it matters, but 83.3. Is it going to be the same? 0.9 off. 83. I need the target. Okay. Let's measure. See what it looks like. Okay, so slightly off in volume compared to how it was before, but obviously we can fix any volume issues we have. So let's align it. That's an Atmos speaker that's in a corner of a room that's got horrific bass problems, and you can get these types of results with it. Like, that is amazing. I'm not saying speaker placement doesn't matter because of this reason. It does, but you can still get extremely good sound with EQ. EQ can get you out of some, design issues and setup issues like this. It really can. I mean, that's a gorgeous response. Now, if you see here from the target to from what we actually get, it's about 1 dB, right? There's a 1 dB dip there. Two dB. The reason I'm looking at this is because though the results here are excellent compared to what we had, like this, it's all over the place. It's just a mess of sound. You gain such incredible consistency over this mid-range area, which is extremely good. Plus, you have really nice treble as well, which is, I'm telling you, especially speakers behind you, like especially the Atmos speakers behind you, to have really nice clean treble it sounds so good when you get clean results like this, where these things aren't just waving all over the place. But you can, in Audyssey does not stop you stacking EQs. And what that means is that you can now take this response and EQ that as well on top of this. Now, there are other ways to do it. Like you can just, I can import another stack, or I create a spreadsheet for this, but I created the spreadsheet at 1/3 resolution. So, like right now it only goes to 20K. But I want to give you an example of this without actually doing it. So, A is the frequency response. B is the boost, which is again on here, which would be these numbers that you would import into a spreadsheet. Then you would get the next response, or the next export, you could say, the next target curve, and there's its boosts. So what I've done is I just created a spreadsheet where it took one target curve export and the other target curve export, took these numbers of what the target curve is being boosted or negated by, and it puts them together. So negative 3.86 and negative 3.86 is negative 7.732, right? And it does this for positive numbers as well. So 4.5 and 4.5 is 9.064. And the whole point of this is, the only reason I made this was, does Audyssey actually like importing two target curves? You know, I thought, could there be issues with stacking a target curve on top of itself? I don't know, because I was having that timing issue as well with OCA's old sweeps. I didn't know what could affect it. I'm like, is that the reason? Because I used to measure my Atmos speakers and stacking these EQs, and I'm like, there's a point where the speaker just fell apart. And I'm like, what is happening here? Like, is it the fact that you cannot stack these EQs because it affects timing too much? In any case, what you can do is you can take this, or this, right? You can take any of these, and you can now select this, copy this, and paste that. Now this is a double curve, right? It's essentially right now this is just a demo. It's adding things twice, but you can take two target curves, combine them into a single target curve, and then import it into our MultEQ-X as one target curve. Again, the only reason I did that is because, hey, I didn't know the issues that I was having. I can give you an example of the differences a stacking target curve can make. I may as well do it. Let's do it. So what do I need? Yeah, I just need this. So let's SPL align to 0. And if you see now how close we are, the target curve that I'm going to need is now going to be very small. It's only going to need 1 dB changes instead of, say, 4 and 6 and things like that. So what do? I take the Harman target over the measurement, same thing, and it gives me this now. So let's select that one. It gives this correction curve. And hopefully, even though Audyssey has only a certain limited resolution, how close can we get? So, export as text, full resolution again. Front height left 96. I know we were doing 96 anyway, but at least I will know. So it's this one. What is this? That was just that other import. Don't need that. Don't need that. Okay, what do we get to? Okay. So 50. I think I take 50. Take 50. Put that in there. Let me see the old one. Because I want to make this as quick and as painless as possible. So, where do we... So 19 again. I'm doing this for now. I would clean this up properly with a spreadsheet, but it shouldn't actually affect the sound anyway. but I do like to be completely OCD with things like this. But this is just a quick workaround to set everything to 0 after a certain point. Okay, so don't need to connect. So this is the channel here, front height left. There is already a target curve in there, and import again. Front height left. Front height left 96 is the second one. Okay, so we have target curve 1 and target curve 2. And again, if you didn't want to do that, if you didn't want to put 2 in, I will link you this spreadsheet where you can then import your entire 96, your massive file here. You put one here, you space it, and you put your second one here, and then you can export the whole thing as just one. You can do that. To be honest, I may even just show you how to do it. So, yeah, how much closer can we get by stacking these? Now knowing that I should not have problems with moving speakers in distance, no problem with sweeps, because this doesn't have any of those issues. If Audyssey doesn't have any issues either, in theory, you could stack as many as you like. There's going to be a point of complete overkill, though. When I first started figuring this out about, like, you can actually stack the target curves as well, I got my target curves within half a dB of the target, and it typically, the top Atmos speakers took around 3. Most of the floor speakers took 2, but the Atmos speakers did take more because just because of the way things are. So yeah, pretty interesting. So actually, then while that's uploading, shall I give you a demo of that? So that's copy. Okay, paste that in. Okay, just check in something. So basically, what we want to split these. We want to split the text of the columns now because it's all together. So split text with a space. That puts the frequency response here and the, I guess you call it attenuation, on the other side. So that's all done. May as well do the other side now. 96, let's grab that. Copy that. You should clear these first. Clear. Clear. Okay, that's in. Click off. Then data, split text columns, separator as a space. Okay. Okay, this goes the whole way down. Good. So basically, we've took those 2 target curves and we've turned them into 1 target curve now. So what's the best example, just to show you that the math is kind of working out, So 3.81 and negative. Oh, that's negative. Oh, I see. Yeah, because I was like, why is that 3.9 and that's 3.81 and there's a negative? So it's all negative. But basically, yeah, 3.81 negative, then there's a 0.1 of a negative, so we're now at 3.9. So you've really just stacked your target curves into one. This needs formatting to this. This needs formatting. I like to see zeros when they are zeros. I don't like it to truncate. So this is how it exports from REW. So this is kind of like how I like to see it. Is there any truncation going on? No. So yeah, basically what we would do now is grab A, which is the frequency, which has not changed, but we grab the now combined two target curves into one. Get this open. Okay, so that's the combined target curve. YouTube. So front height left combined. Yeah, I meant. And you can import that. Let's measure this first and then see if they match what I've already done. Okay, so that's what we have. I don't know what it was, 83. I don't think it actually matters whether I do that. 1.3 less. $82.7. Sorry, I'm going. I've been doing this too long today. Two, one. Okay. Got there. Let's see. So it is, yeah, as you can see, or hopefully you can see, this dip here, for instance, is 79.8. It is 0.7 away from the target, and the old one was 7.9 to 1.3, about 1.3. It's tightened things up. It could be overkill, right? The first EQ could be more than enough, but again, this is Audyssey. There are things you can do to almost guarantee perfection here. Now, so this is I'm just going to call this double target, right? And I'm going to see if we get the same response. I wonder if this looks the same. I'm actually going to import it here on rear height just to see. I just want to see the differences. So rear height. Well, rear height anything. Because I just want to see it there. So rear height left. Front height combined. Doesn't look the same. It's not as erratic here. So I don't think you'd get the same response, but I wonder. Rear. Where did I put it? Okay, let's delete that. Front height left. Import target. Front height left. Guess we'll see here which method is actually better. As a single target curve or not. So if double target curves are better, I think in Audyssey at least, the reason why they could be better is because the volume balancing is probably taken into effect more. I would assume that's what it is. But let's see. How close are they? And at this point now, is it just not worth overthinking and just, hey, if you want to stack another target curve, you can, and there's no penalty, whatever, anymore for doing it. Because like I said before, when I had that timing thing going on with OCA's old sweeps, responses could fall apart. So a lot of these spreadsheets, like things like this, have been done because of that, to try and counter that. So even again using one third smoothing to try and combat anything that could affect timing in a negative way, and which could potentially affect the response of it. So let's see. Wow. Huh. Not as good. So that spreadsheet's not really worth it. I'm going to keep the spreadsheet, but, just in case. But it doesn't seem that stacking them maybe in that way helps. It might require the influence of the first target curve, which, let's just say it had 5.9 on a particular frequency. and the next one was like negative 0.6. When you combine it as one target curve, it's now no longer that. It's just a different number. With stacking the numbers together in Audyssey, some reason and somehow the final result is actually better. So yeah, significantly. I mean, I don't know if this is actually better than the original measurement. So let's pull this off. I would say it's not even better than that. So stacking them in a spreadsheet does not seem to provide better results. It's actually worse. But stacking the actual double target, there it is. Yeah, stacking targets though on top of each other really does seem to lock it in. I guess here's a way of thinking about it. The second EQ can't exist without the first, right? Yeah, it cannot exist without the first, whereas in the spreadsheet, it's taking the first spreadsheet and the second spreadsheet and making it into one, and things maybe can't exist without those other numbers. I thought it'd be a good thing to maybe test here. I've actually never tested that, so because I was using it. It's okay. I feel in low res situations like that 1/3. I think I tried it and I think it was fine, but it's obvious that there is dependencies there of this result of a second target curve can only exist after the first one has actually been applied. So now typically, again, using say OCA's old sweeps, I would now move on to another speaker. I'd measure that, and maybe at the end of it I would do timing, right? I would move the speaker. I would change the distance of the speaker. Now, I used to change the distance of the speaker, and by doing so, the whole response would fall apart. So everything is 3 milliseconds out. So let's try this. I want to try moving the distance of the speakers. Front height, so +6, so that'd be 8. So it's the same as the first one. That instead of 50, it was 56. I'm assuming that is the difference for every speaker. The reason is because every speaker was timed to be the same. So I'm assuming I can apply the same here, and now it should work. Now, even though that difference was small, it is still a difference. Does it actually change the response? It shouldn't do. At least I hope not. Because I've been fighting for this for about I've been dealing with this for about the past 6 months, this like kind of problem. So we shall see. So response isn't good again. Oh, I know why. No. It's using the other one. All right, let's change it. Yeah, that was... didn't think about that, did we? So I double stack target curves. I did a front height left and then the 96. So import. Front height left. 96. Send that. Actually, all I want to check is, because we really don't need to do this. Is the response the same as the other one? That's all I need to know. Because I moved the distance of the speakers and I measured twice. So, was it that one? And that one. Minor difference there, but nothing crazy. Maybe just a run-to-run difference there. Like, I mean, the difference is 0.4. I'm not gonna worry about that as long as the response is not fell apart. Whereas I've seen response where there's holes in here before just by moving the speaker. So the fact that really is not happening here is a really good sign. So. Okay, I think that's done. So where's the other one? So where was the actual good one? Good one was double target. Now how close to this by moving the distance? Should it be the same? Not even pressing play. Again, as long as the response doesn't completely fall apart, it's essentially the same. It's kind of around here, there's slight differences, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but again, I'm not seeing big sweeping holes here and things like that. So I mean, to be honest, somehow that is improved. Is it because it's not like aligned? Absolutely. Let me see now. Just very minor differences, very minor, which I am completely happy with, as long as my response isn't completely all out of whack. I'm considering it basically the same. So what about the timing though? How close are we? We went too far. I have to delay it by a bit more. Or not delay. So the timing of one of these was different because it was using a single import versus, say, another. And now this is probably a bit different. So negative. Do I want to go negative, I think? Because I think I do. So that was 34. Let's just try that. No. Oh, I know what happened. I updated Audyssey through the app, and I didn't refresh that screen. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So just give me a sec. I'm just going to refresh that. What are we at? So distances. Okay. So we're now at 32. I think this needs to be lowered by 6 again, but it was the other way. Okay, that took. So let's just try it. And see how close we are, and if we're going the right way. Zero 0.12. Yeah, we're right on now. Okay. So again, very minor changes in the distance and timing is, I'm going to say, not having any real effect anymore on this. And what you could do, again, because now we're using the disc, is time align all your speakers first, right? Just get everything timed to this system now, rather than my PC and with VLC player. Get it timed this way. Get everything correct to start with, because then you don't have to make... I'm not saying these were sweeping distance changes or anything like that. They were extremely close, but you may not actually even have to affect or change the distance even after EQ by much, if any, which means, you might not get anything like this going on, so I don't know. It's just things to think about. I do prefer to time first and then see where the measurements are at after that. If you lose 0.3 of an inch with EQ, I don't care. That's completely fine, right? You could maybe go after it, but even half an inch, it's like it's so close in time that you just don't need to affect it. So if you got all of that done first, I still think the way I did my last calibration is the right thing to do anyway. You time align all your speakers first. You volume match all of your speakers first. Because if you think about this as well, just setting your receiver to 0 on all of the channels doesn't mean you're measuring every single speaker at 75 dB. So I have found that if certain speakers are louder than others, they actually can EQ and sound differently. I found that if you EQ a speaker at lower volume, it can bring out more treble. And if you EQ at a louder volume, like what, say, Dolby suggests, at like, say, 79 dB, I think they say within 3 dB, of 79 dB to like 82 dB. But that's still a big range of what it actually could be. And I've actually EQ'd before at 85 dB, and you're using the same targets, you're using everything, and I felt that the sound was drier than when it was at 75. Like 10 dB is a lot of difference in the capability of your speakers. Now, if you're using crazy expensive speakers, maybe that influence is a lot less, because you're not pushing your speakers to a potential edge. It could again just be the speakers. I'm not saying maxing out, but they're now being pushed at 85 rather than 75 being something that's comfortable. So, yeah, that is. I mean, it's a nice EQ. Another thing is it looks here as though there are slight volume differences in each of the responses. And just some of those changes alone I can make on the receiver to bring things in line to where they're supposed to be. And me thinking that there's differences in these sweeps, there really isn't much differences in them, because now they're actually volume aligned as well. So So yeah. Yeah, I always have to remember that this screen is different if I upload off of this, so... Okay. So, lots of different things to think about, and again, some of the reasons and benefits of actually calibrating straight from the disc, straight from your actual player that you watch movies on. Like, if you were using, I mean, let's say you was a streamer, right, and you was using a Roku, right, or anything, an Apple TV box or whatever they are, you could do the same thing, right? You calibrate specifically from that device with, they have, Technodan and Joe and Tell have a digital version, a downloadable only version. You can put that on a USB. You could... Now, I'm not sure if the Roku, could play lossless files. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. Let's just assume you can for now. You'd put the files onto a USB, put it into the Roku, play through the Roku. And that's another thing with the Roku. I've seen with the Roku, the levels, even with Bitstream, seem as though they're just not the same as my Panasonic. They're either too loud or way too soft in volume, like in certain channels. I'm like, what is going on here? Again, these are the benefits really of EQing specifically for the device that you use all the time for movies. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's disc or whether it's a player. I mean, you could use your PC to watch movies with in VLC Player. You know, go full screen, have it all HDMI connected. You know, you could have a wireless mouse and keyboard. You know, you could watch movies however you want to watch them, but I do think there are benefits to EQing and number one, EQing and even the timing. Like we've seen, I'm 0.6 either way on some of these speakers off for this player. Maybe it was the reference speaker thing, but again, if you can get this set up specifically for the device you're watching and listening on, once it's actually set, there's kind of like no excuses. You know, this really is now. The volume is perfect. Everything is EQ'd perfect for that device. So, I'll tell you what, right now though, it's finding time to actually fit these EQs in. I dedicated a lot of time last year and towards the start of this year of trying to understand this, even with some of the bugs that I was having with some of the sweeps. That actually did hold me up though, again, for about 6 months of like trying to understand like what is honestly happening here. But I still got my system to sound incredible because the workaround was, again, timing everything first. You do everything first, just set up everything first, and then EQ it after that, and it was just what I've got now. It's amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link my Calibration Basics folder. I think that's the best thing to do now. And so I have, if anyone wants to use sweeps off for VLC Player and for their PC and things like that, I have OCA's new sweeps. They're 256K. The timing is like this disc, where it's in the left channel. And again, the benefits of that is you don't actually have to have a center now. And you don't have to then have the acoustic reference that would have been for the center channel from other sweeps being monoed into the left and the right channel, right? Now you actually have it in a specific channel. And for people that don't like using a center channel, or that's just, you know, they can't use a center channel, it's actually it is probably more beneficial to just do it this way. So So all of my 01s here, these are labeled 01, 02, 03 up to 05. So the reason I do that is because if I remote calibrate somebody else's system, what I do is I give them this link, and essentially I access their PC, and I download all of this. Now in Windows, typically, Windows will. Now let's have a look at one of my other. This one. So Windows typically will put things in order. So these are all the ones, these are the twos, these are the fours, and the fives. And the reason I've done that is because to separate things, making it helpful to me to be like, all right, well, anything that's in one is really just a note really for me. So, REW preferences, right? Just something that could potentially help. Like if I'm EQing someone's system, I've got all the beta preferences there. I've got some notes for myself. Just some basic things. Some of the settings for calibrating with MultEQ-X if I'm not doing target curves, that type of thing. I have mid-range compensations, PEQ values, mid-range compensation as an actual import to the EQ section of REW, Niband EQ values, all of that, and the actual import to it. Like these are the actual values of it. Is this a text file? So it will tell you like what they are. Yeah, so there is lots of things here. I have the correction files on 4 and a sub-correction file as well on 4. None of the pieces of text here are the closest they can be is 3 hertz apart, because again, that's the limitation of Audyssey. Now these are 1/3 smooth, so maybe what I should do is have a 1/3 smoothed and maybe have a 96, a really high res one as well. But as you can see, really, once you get to around 18 and 19K, you could probably manually write 18,000, 19,000, 20,000, all the way to 24, set them to zeros. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, maybe that's something I'll work on. I'll add that later. And that's the thing with this folder, I can just add it. So I could put MultEQ correction file 96, right? And I should probably label this then like 1/3, or yeah, 1/3. Sub-correction file is as highly detailed as it can be, and it goes up to 256. 250 hertz. That's as highly detailed as it can be, so that can't be changed. I have the target curves here, Harman target curve. I have a Harman. This is a target curve I made where it's a combination of a Harman curve for the bass, and then it transitions into a Wisdom target curve, which on my old speakers honestly did sound better. My old speakers there is a potential there for having a kind of boxy, kind of ringy, boxy sound, and this Wisdom audio target curve took care of that. So this is a text file. You can just import these to REW. And these are my spreadsheets. So what I have here is a sometimes on some systems that I've EQ'd, I've talked to the homeowner or the calibration guy, not the calibration guy, like the customer, I'll just say the customer, not that I sell anything, I'm just saying the person that wanted their system EQ'd, we felt as though on some speakers that the EQ values were too high. So what this spreadsheet does, do I have it? Yeah, here. What this spreadsheet does is it essentially halves and then quarters everything. So this is the boost, which would be again 27 dB. You know, this is halved, and this is the actual formula here of what it actually is, of what this this column is actually doing to it. But essentially, it's halved everything, and this one is 25%. So if you're like, look, some of these EQ values are getting up to like, say, 9 dB on a really poor speaker, or a speaker that just has no right with that type of output. You can either in a spreadsheet set them to 0, or you can half their values, or even quarter their values. And we found that just made things a lot smoother. It had an attempt to EQing some of these numbers, but it didn't go out of its way to make sure everything was totally locked in, because some of the speakers that you're EQing here may not have the output to be able to do a Harman target curve between 80 Hertz and 24K. You know, I mean, I cut my speakers off anyway at 18 kilohertz. But some speakers are just, you know, they may not be placed well. You know, some of the Atmos ceiling speakers that people are using are woefully underpowered. You know, they've got the directionality on them is terrible, and you have to like kind of over EQ to get them to sound really good. But how much are you pushing them? You know, so it's just things to think about. So this is why, you know, I wanted to create a folder system that would allow me to remote calibrate somebody else's system, and I have access to all of the potential things that I would need to calibrate their system. So obviously we have found that this target curve combiner thing doesn't actually, it actually makes it worse, because it is not taken into account the original target curve. That's a shame. It is a shame, because I was like, this is going to be a really good idea, but you know, I think I'll keep it there just in case like somebody could find a use for it, you know. But this is kind of like how my mind goes, right? Can I, instead of using two target curves, can I use one and combine it? You know, it's just things to think about. And it is really kind of like this fun journey. It is a fun journey for me of trying to be as efficient as you can with an EQ method, and discovery as well. Like for me, discovery about like of EQ is, to me, is so much fun, and it feels good, right? Sometimes you feel as though you're like, well, nobody else is doing this. Like nobody is doing this specific thing, and it's like, whoo, this is, and you get good results from it. Like it's fun, and it you know, because I don't really see many. The thing is, one thing to think about as well is, just because you don't see, say, videos on YouTube about a particular thing, doesn't mean somebody else isn't doing it, right? Because some people don't feel the need to place their videos, the videos of their lives on YouTube, right? You know, and it's the same with EQ. Some people are like, look, I'm not making videos about doing this. I'm just going to go after it. Maybe talk to people on the AVS forum about, hey, this is how you do it. This is, you know, so just because they're not on YouTube, maybe I've thought as well, like there must be other people doing this too. So, but yeah, just some of the things I do and I've kind of learned, and over the years now. But Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit, it's excellent, because the sound that you can get by doing it now this way, and again off of your device, knowing that these channels are the correct volume, knowing that these channels are EQ'd correctly, you're not having any bitstream conversion issues or anything going on. Really good. So yeah, a new EQ is coming. I'm extremely happy with my current EQ, but for my last EQ, I did feel as though I didn't get the volume of my rears exactly. I was kind of guessing, right, what they were missing, and then adding it to the receiver, which is something I typically don't do. I didn't actually put them into Audyssey, so I was like, well, they're 1.5 dB short, so I just literally put 1.5 dB into the channel trims of the input itself. So my last EQ wasn't like clinically exact, though it sounds excellent. But yeah, I'm going to give it, I'll give it another go when I get time. But again, time. With it coming up to like the, the holidays and this type of season, movies coming out like every week still on 4K and Blu-ray, it's a lot to, you have to like dedicate a day to it. And it's just like, okay, I need to plan, you need to start planning this. But I've actually got pretty efficient though at doing these calibrations now. And from start to finish, maybe, I don't know, with a subwoofer, I probably won't re-EQ my sub, because it's so good right now. It was done so well that I don't think there's any reason to do it. It sounds incredible the way it is. That's done anyway with a mini DSP SHD, so it's like, maybe I'll check some timing things, but the EQ on it's really good. So it's just for the balance of the whole system and the EQ doing it this way. Within the next 2 weeks, I think I'll give it another go. But we are really now at the point for me at like diminishing returns. Like from this current EQ, how much difference am I really going to hear? Like, if the difference between, say, this laptop running VLC player versus disc is half a dB on the rears, and that, sure, there's things that maybe need tightening up, but they're not complete game breakers, right? They're not. But I am one of those people that feel if there's something to be gained by doing it from a disc, instead of, say, a PC, instead of some type of file player system that you've got, then I'm doing it, right? So this is now the next venture. And I just wanted to make sure as well for myself that I could work with Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit, and obviously I can. So it's very easy to set up. Once you buy this, actually from us, so if you buy this disc from us and you really are into calibrating, they provide this full guide. Now I assume this is like just for the public, right? So I'm assuming anybody can have this. I'll ask Joe and Tel. I'll ask him, like, can this be shared? Do you have to own the disc to have access to this Google Doc? If not, I will link this in the description. I don't see why people they wouldn't want to see this, but they wouldn't want people to see this. But maybe it's only when you purchase. But you can either buy it from their site or you can buy it from, say, our website here. But I don't think our website gives you the opportunity to say for these links. Maybe they come in the disk, because there's like calibration guides here, Spatial Quick Start. I wonder if it takes you to this page. If it does, then anyone buying this disc, even if it's from us, will have access to this, right? So yeah, pretty impressed. I've kind of got the itch to calibrate again, knowing that I can definitely set this up very well now on disk. I have the files. I know how to add the file to REW here from file. The way they do it, you can just use their file. There's no problems with their file. I was just explaining that it will cut off at 20K. Now, if you're not going past 20K, or you cut off at 18 anyway, who cares? It's a 24-bit file, so it matches the playback of this system anyway. So shouldn't be an issue. But again, these are easy to make. You just come into the generator, you make it. So yeah. So calibrating with Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. That's a mouthful. Can be done, and potentially can I actually offer you the best results because of the device. So thanks for watching. How are you guys doing with calibration? How are your systems? Are you having as much fun as I am? Because the fun really never stops. And I appreciate you watching these videos. I know they're long, but have a good day, and